Hello, welcome to Season 4 of the Ribbon Masters Draft League. I am Grunky, or Psychic Fairy Mime, and I am coach of the Detroit Drowsy. Last season, in Season 3 of the Ribbon Masters Draft League, I was coach of the Pyrite Town Persian, but after failing to win it all, they let me go. Luckily, Detroit had a coaching position open, and the city welcomed me with open arms. And they really like Darby as well. They say it's the best Drowsy to ever live, which, hey, who am I to dispute? And yeah, this is Season 4 of the Ribbon Masters Draft League. This season, we are going to be doing it's kind of like an OU Uber singles format. I think it's supposed to be OU, but when we set up our teams on Showdown, we have to use the Uber format, so I'm not quite sure there. And just like last season, I am not a singles player. The only time I ever play singles is in the Battle Tower, just to get ribbons. So yeah, that's essentially my little pre-spiel here. As a side note, you may have noticed if you followed along last season that my last video was never uploaded, my last match in the playoffs, and that's because that video got corrupted and lost in time. And if somebody has a recording of that, I'm sure I could do some commentary, but because that was so long ago, I just don't remember. So just let it be known that I lost in the playoffs, but we did have a great season. I'm proud of our guys, proud of our team. But Pirate Town said, "Hey, get out of here," which is fair. So yeah, let's go over some rules real quick. This is pretty standard, I assume standard stuff. Be respectful to each other and have fun. That's pretty standard. The draft, we've already done the draft. I will go over my team in just a minute. The draft was a snake draft, so it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 1, or 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, over and over again until each player drafted 11 Pokemon. The Terra rules. So terrestrialization is the Gen 9, the Paldea gimmick, the cool mechanic, and that creates such a level of randomness that the admins went ahead and said, hey, let's just make it to where only 3 Pokemon on your team are allowed to terrestrialize. And that's what they did. Spoiler alert, I still have not chosen my 3 Terra captains on my team. But I'll go over that when I get to the team. But essentially, you choose 3 of your 11 and they'll be able to terrestrialize into any type you want during the given week. Obviously, only one of them can terrestrialize in a battle, but so there's still a level of randomness, but that's just kind of a way that the admins are reining in the randomness because they want it to be more competitive than luck-based. Especially since the regular season, much like last season, is going to be a best of 1. So yeah, there's a tier list, tier 0 through 5. Tier 0 and tier 1 Pokemon can't be Terra captains. Makes sense, those Pokemon are very strong. If they terrestrialize, then they become unbalanced. That's fair. Possible Terra tier combinations, so you can't have 3 tier 2 Terra captains. You can do 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 4, so on and so forth. If you terrestrialize a Pokemon that's not a Terra captain, you lose. Pretty simple. This is more just kind of for us, the coaches. 2 forfeits, you're out of the league. Play it out the battle. That's what I do. I play out the battle. Playoffs, it'll be top players. Well, this might change, actually. I've seen some conflicting things here on how many players make the playoffs. But those will be best of 3. Tiebreakers, win to loss ratio, highest differential, that is KO to being KO'd, or essentially your KD ratio. And then head-to-head record. So if these two were tied, and then I still had a tie with another team, whoever won in the regular season would win that tiebreaker. There are 5 transactions allowed throughout the season. A transaction is, hey, I'm dropping this Pokemon and adding this other Pokemon. Let's say I'm going to drop Bronzong and I'm going to pick up, I don't know, Staraptor. You can only do that 5 times. Once you do drop a Pokemon, you can't pick it back up. Once you trade a Pokemon, there's no take-backsies. There's no trading back. And if you... wait, no, that might be it, actually. Oh, changing Terra Captain. If you change Terra Captain, that counts as one of your transactions. Which is part of why I haven't chosen my 3 yet. Is because to change those... If I wanted to change all 3 of those, that would be 5. That would be 3 of my 5 transactions, and that's a lot. So yeah, this kind of stuff is a little complicated, but is good for me to review again. The ban list, typical Smogon stuff. Smogon White clauses are in place. You can't have 2 leftovers. You can't have 2 choice specs. The abilities Moody, Snow Cloak, Sand Veil, Shadow Tag, and Arena Trap are unbalanced, especially in a draft league format. These Pokemon aren't allowed. Chi-Yu, Cyclizar, Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, Palafin, Koraidon, and Miraidon, as well as any Pokemon or forms that aren't attainable in the game. So at the time of this recording, we're about a week out of Pokemon Day 2023. Pokemon has announced a 20-minute-ish Pokemon Presents. A lot of people are theorizing that we are going to get home support for the Paldea games, and that means like Alola forms and such will be available in the game. Just because they're available in the game does not mean they're available in this draft league. That's what this is saying. It's just going to be base game Pokemon minus these ones. Items, pretty similar abilities. No like evasion spam, no flinch spam. Although I was kind of surprised to see King's Rock here. Moves, typical Smogon stuff. No Baton Pass, no Swagger, no Double Team, no Minimize. Oko moves, I love them, but I understand why they're gone. Rage Fist and Last Respects. Rage Fist belongs to Annihilate, Last Respects belongs to Houndstone. There can only be 2, well, 1 of each in each conference, so just unbalanced. Especially Last Respects. It's such a strong move. And again, can't Terastallize Pokemon that aren't your 3 Terra Captains. Alright, so we'll go to the Detroit Drowsy, and we'll see what I picked. Let me zoom back in. Great logo. Alright, this is the order of my draft. My first pick was Grimmsnarl. I wanted Skeledirge. Well, I was 8 out of 10 in the draft, so and just like I thought it would, most of the tier 0s I wanted were taken. So my first round pick, I was like, okay, well, I can't get Roaring Moon, I can't get Great Tusk, but I can get Skeledirge, which is a tier 1. But Biggest Swiggus, the person who does a lot of putting this whole thing up, these Google Docs up, took it right before me. Very rude, very intentional. That was sarcasm. But I went ahead and picked up Grimmsnarl because, like I said multiple times throughout my entire life, I am a doubles player. I know this is singles, and I do believe that Grimmsnarl will be good in singles. But most of this first pick was because I trust it from my doubles playing. So it'll be cool. I think it'll be fun trying to learn how to use this, make it more effective in singles. And after looking at some Smogon sets, it looks like it's pretty much the same thing as doubles. But that's fine. That's the cool thing about draft leagues. You can kind of do some fun stuff. Next up, I used some of my points for Ting Lu. Ting Lu is one of the legendaries in Paldea. It is ground and dark. So right off the bat, I have 2 bulky ground types. Actually, fun fact, Grimmsnarl is not super bulky. It has a decent HP stat, but look at that's bad. That's not that good. But as you can see here, Ting Lu, 155 HP, 125 defense, and 80 special defense. That's pretty bulky. Actually, I'll just stay down here in the base stats. Yeah, so Ting Lu, the big reason I picked this was kind of like the shiny new toy syndrome, I admit. But it gets hazards, it gets whirlwind. I think it gets memento. I think it'll be pretty fun. Toxapex was my 3rd pick. This was mostly because Marini was like an MVP on my team last season, which makes sense if you know anything about Little Cup. So I just went ahead and got a bigger Marini in Toxapex. Pretty much same scenario that Marini did, just kind of stally, hazardy type stuff. No Scald anymore, but I do believe it gets Chilling Water, which instead of burning, it lowers attack, which is pretty interesting. Up next, I got to mesh well with Toxapex. I got a Levitate Pokemon that's also a Grass type, in Rotom Mow. The Rotom forms were all set up different, or separate, I should say. So like Rotom Heat, Rotom Wash, Rotom Mow, those were all different picks. And unfortunately, you can only have one on your team. So I chose Rotom Mow, again, for that Levitate and Grass type. And it just has really good stats all around, except for HP, but it also gets Will-O-Wisp, which I am a big fan of Wisping. So that is pretty much the Mow pick there. Donphan is next. This pick was mostly to prevent other people from picking it. Defog got a big slash in its distribution this generation, and so Rapid Spin users were going to be more of a commodity. So I went ahead and picked one up. Obviously, I want a Rapid Spin user on my side, but since I'm probably going to be running a lot of entry hazards, or at least I threaten with that, I wanted to take something away from another team who could benefit from it. But 120 base attack is nice. Same thing with defense. Pretty physically bulky, much like Ting Lu. Yeah, so I feel pretty good about Donphan. Magneton was my next pick. I do admit that I think I jumped this one a little too early. It is a tier 4. But Magnezone was taken, and it's one of 3 Magnet Pull Pokemon in the game. And I just think Magnet Pull is a great ability to kind of disrupt a lot of people's terrestrialization. So, yeah. And 120 special attack is pretty decent. I feel good about that. Same thing with its bulk, especially because it can get an Eviolite boost. I feel pretty good. Speed is kind of whatever. Unfortunately, it does not get Levitate, but it does get Sturdy, so yeah, I don't know. Looking back, I do think I may have picked Magneton a little bit early, but I still feel good about having it on my team. The reason I chose Magneton and not Magnezone is because Magnezone was already taken, and I didn't want to be stuck with Magnemite. Up next is Houndstone. Originally, I had drafted a Staraptor, but the admins went ahead and blessed us with a grace period of 2 free preseason transactions. So I went ahead and dropped Staraptor for Houndstone. Houndstone, I think it's just going to be a fun Pokemon to use. It's also a Ghost type, so it can stop the Rapid Spin. Up next is Umbreon, another bulky monster. The biggest reason I chose it is because I did not want to fight it. I would be 100% honest. But also, as I'm learning singles stuff, wish passing is a huge part of the game. And Umbreon's a good wish passer, so I hear. So I do want to get experience doing that. Up next is my tier 0, Garganacle. The reason this thing's a tier 0, I imagine, is because of this insanely bulky stat spread, along with Recover. Let's think it's Salt Cure, which is, well, it's his signature move. I guess Knuckle Stack also gets it. And maybe Knackley. Either way. It's Salt Cure. Excuse me. Salt Cure is a move that just does chip damage, but it does bonus damage against water and steel types. So that chip damage. So think of it of like being poisoned versus being badly poisoned. Poison does chip damage. Badly poisoned does more chip damage. So I feel pretty good about this pick. I don't know much about Garganacle. I think it's Garganacle. I say I play doubles, but I have not really touched Paldea VGC. I'm kind of waiting for home support to open before I really venture into Gen 9. But I do know that it is a staple in a lot of teams. So up next is Dreadnought. This is a Swift Swim abuser, and it's a rock type. So rock type with Swift Swim seemed pretty fun to use. Good way to counter the rain teams that were drafted. And yeah, a 115 base attack is pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say there. And then Hippopotamus. This was originally Sawsbuck. The reason I drafted Sawsbuck was because it gets Serene Grace, and I thought it would be funny. But after looking at my team, Hippo is the way to go. The reason it's the way to go, I should explain, is because it gets Sandstream, and so it just sets up a Sandstorm when it gets switched in. And Tyranitar and Hippowdon were already taken, and those teams had pretty much built their teams around those picks. So I knew they weren't going to let them go. So I was like, you know what? I'll get rid of the funny deer and pick up the small, cute hippo. And yeah, that's pretty much my team. Stat average here. The hippo's really bringing us down, but as you can see, we're pretty bulky all around. I mean, these are pretty bulky stats. So my worry is I don't have enough damage dealing, but I am going to go ahead and do my best anyway, because that's what we do here in Detroit. So yeah, that's about it. That is kind of the wrap up there. First matchup is against Ribambun, who is a premier singles player. They make some really good teams. They have some teams pinned in the Ribbons Discord to help people get ribbons. So pretty worrying. But I will get to that more later whenever we get to that game. Anyway, that is all for me. Please like and subscribe if that's what you want to do. And yeah, I will see you all week 1.